interpreting graphs of functions. So, let's look at this graph. It's a graph of a roller coaster. It tells us that in the title up at the top. The x-axis is the distance along the track in feet, and then the y-axis is the height above ground. So those are the variables here. So the vertical line test, that's this. At any point, do you go through more than one point in this graph? There's one point when you draw your vertical line every time. So this is a function. So let's look at the domain, and we should... Okay, so that is a function. So for domain, we need to know that's our x. I think of it as D comes before R, X comes before Y, go in alphabetical order. So, what can the X values be? What is the smallest X and what is the biggest X? So, where does X begin? The graph actually begins right there, right? So that's 0 for X, if you think about it like that. So X can be between 0, less than or equal to X. What are the points it's between? And where's it end the graph? Right there. And we can say less than or equal to. So this is really just saying X is between these 2 points. Range, that's our Y. Range, our Y. That's a little different. Where before we looked at these 2 points, we're going to look at different points. Let me erase this so we don't get confused. Well, Y, we can say it starts at the same point as the X does, really. There. But that's the smallest Y. What's the biggest Y? And it's the height of your graph. So given those 2 points, I can say the range of Y starts at 10, less than or equal to Y, less than or equal to, and the height is 110. Okay, so that's how you can tell your domain and range of a function. Let me erase this so you can see it like this. Okay, vertical line test, function, domain, range. This is very important information. The main thing being this box right here. This is all in your book. The y-intercept, which we should all know, intersects y-axis, and x equals 0. Very important information. Relative maximum, the greatest value over a limited, this is important, and least value. And that should make sense. Limited. Alright. And what they don't say in that definition is it cannot be the endpoints of a graph. So you guys could write down those y-intercept you should know, relative maximum, makes sense, the greatest value, and relative minimum. And I'm going to go over one other thing. So, absolute maximum of a function. That is the greatest value over all values. All values. And that is the least value. These can be the endpoints. So these can be your endpoints. That's important. So that changes things. So let's look at this the graph again that we were going to look at, and let's find some of this stuff. I'll pause it here so you guys could try this on your own. Okay, I'm going to try and box in the y-intercept and everything else, the relative maximum, absolute maximum, and so forth. So your y-intercept is 10. That's going to come in play again, but the y-intercept for right now is 10. The relative maximum, this is this point here. It depends on the interval, or this point here. So in actuality, it could be 110. It depends the interval, or 90. This can get confusing. The absolute maximum, though, absolute maximum has to be the highest. So the absolute maximum is 110. The relative minimum, on the other hand, is right here. It can't be the endpoints. So that means the relative minimum cannot be this point, and it cannot be this point. So it has to be here, which is 30. Absolute minimum. All these have to do with y values, just so you know. Absolute minimum. What is that? What is the lowest it is? And if you look at it, the lowest the roller coaster ever was is here and here at 10. So here are my answers. Let me erase this, is 10, so it's alright, so absolute means endpoint. It can be an endpoint. Relative is in the middle, okay? So I'll have you guys try this right now on your own, and then I'll pause it here. So here are the following answers, and I'll pause it here. You guys could type this down, and then you should be ready for your homework.